In this video, we'll look at question 4 from the 2016 exam. So in this question, we get given a graph. We can see it's a linear function, and we know the values of 1 point, which is 2 and 10 in some units. We are supposed to say which of the 4 following scenarios could the graph represent, which of the 2 variables could be on the y and the x-axis. And first up is kinetic energy versus speed, where the speed changes linearly because we have free fall. However, we see that kinetic energy is half mv squared, so it's proportional to the square of speed. And we have a linear graph, so this is not something the graph could represent. The second statement, gravitational potential energy versus height as something is lifted with a constant force and has mass 20 kilos. Well, that looks much more promising, because gravitational potential energy is linearly dependent on height. The y-intercept would be 0, there's no constant term, and the gradient of this line would be mg. However, if the mass is 20 kilos, then mg is 200, while in fact the gradient of the graph which we are given is only 10 divided by 2 is 5. So neither is 2 correct. So how about the third one? Velocity versus time. Oops, didn't mean to draw that. Velocity versus time, as the 20 kilo object is accelerated with a force of 100 newtons. Right, if this force is constant, then there is going to be some constant acceleration, and the speed is going to increase linearly with time. So the shape of the curve is the right shape. That is supposed to be linear, but how about the values? Do they fit in? By Newton's second law, acceleration is force, resultant force divided by mass. So 100 divided by 20, 100 newtons divided by 20 kilos, and that's 5 meters per second. And because then v is at for constant acceleration, we see that in a v versus t graph, a would be the gradient. So is the gradient of our line 5 as requested? Yes, 10 divided by 2 is in fact 5, so that's the same as here, 5 meters per second, and 3 is correct. The fourth option, it says work done versus the distance by which that 12 kilo object is moved with the force which is doing the work, 5 newtons. And again, there is a linear relationship. Work is force times the distance covered. And as we can see, the constant of proportionality here is force, which in our case is 5 newtons. That should be the gradient. And is 5 the gradient? Yes, we already found that it's 10 divided by 2. So that can also be what the graph is representing. Hence, 3 and 4 were the only 2 the graph could represent, and that means that E was the correct answer to this question.